Hello. Today's class we're going to take a closer look at one of my favorite poses, lion's pose. The lion's pose involves sticking out the tongue and rolling up the eyes and then roaring like a lion. And it's lost popularity with adult classes, although back in the 70s it used to be a mainstay of adult classes. Now you mainly find it in children's yoga. But that's a real shame because the tongue and the eyes are very important to quality of life, and in yoga there's a lot of work we can do to maintain the health of the tongue and the eyes, but those exercises have kind of dropped from favor in favor of handstands and headstands. So we're going to take a closer look at this pose, and we're going to break it down into the eyes and then into the tongue movement, and then put it together with the physical movement and the sounding. Okay. So first, the tongue. The tongue is going to be projected out and down like this. And if you're new to stretching the tongue, what the tendency is to reach the tongue out too far too quickly, and then there's a reflex where the root of the tongue grips to prevent injury. And then if you continue to push against that, you get a straining sensation. And most people that think they're stretching the tongue are actually triggering this reflex and then straining against the reflex. So the first step, before you can stretch the tongue, you have to turn off that reflexive contraction. To do that, I take the tongue out very gently, and as soon as I feel that tightening, I pull the tongue back again. And the more subtle this is, the faster you'll turn off the reflexes. Don't thrust the tongue out and jerk it back. Reach it out ever so gently, and at the first hint of contraction, pull it back. And this is what it looks like if I'm practicing it. As that reflex diminishes, you'll go out a little further before you trigger it, and again just keep pulling the tongue back in until there's no gripping. At that point, then you can stretch. So let me demonstrate again. And that last time, there was a stretching sensation without any discomfort, without any strain, and that's what you're looking for. For some people, it may take more than one attempt to turn off that gripping reflex, and until you do, just continue practicing that, pulling the tongue back, reaching out, pulling back, reaching out. Okay? Now, that was the easier of the two parts. The eyes are more difficult. So in lion's pose, the eyes roll straight up or up and in at a slight angle, like this. Okay. And for a lot of people, this is going to also create problems, create headache, and other issues. So as we roll the eyes up, we do the same thing we did with the tongue. At the first hint of a contraction of a grip, we back off a little bit. Okay? If you fail to do that, you create a strain, just as with the eyes, and then that strain translates into a headache very quickly before you know it. So, as you roll the eyes up, at the first hint, even before there's a strain, at the first hint that the eye is thinking about, the muscles are thinking about contracting and resisting, back off until you feel those muscles relax, and then try it again, back off, try it again, back off, and keep doing that. And over time, you'll find you can go up a little further, and eventually you'll roll the eyes up and there won't be the contraction. There'll just be a pleasant stretching sensation. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so let me demonstrate. And now I'm rolling the eyes up, and there's no discomfort, no straining, just a pleasurable sensation of stretching the eye muscles. And then for lion's pose, we add the tongue. And then we combine that with the rest of the pose. In today's class, we're going to do a little bit more emphasis on using the eyes in our yoga practice. The downside to this is that it's very easy to get a headache or to strain the eyes. So if you're new to eye exercises, I recommend the workshop that I have available on a video that introduces eye exercises. And if not, feel free to join in, just don't try too hard. And if the eye exercises aren't working for you, if they're causing nausea or strain or the potential to give you a headache, just continue with your practice, but don't do the eye movements. So to start with, find a comfortable seated position. Reach the sit bones back, tilt the pelvis forward. Lift through the waist, through the sternum, through the collarbones, broaden through the shoulder girdle. The chest floats up, the abdomen firms. The base of the throat back draws back slightly, the back of the neck lengthening up as the chest lifts up. Shoulder blades sink. Let go of most of the effort without collapsing. So maintaining that posture with less and less effort. And then turning your attention to your breath. See if you can breathe into the back of the lungs, into the floor of the pelvis, and into the lower abdomen. Allow the chest to be passive. As you continue breathing, begin relaxing your face. Forehead, eyebrows, eyelids, the eyeballs, the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth. Allow the breath to be smooth and fluid. Very delicately, begin to float your head around a little to the left or to the right, just noticing where the neck feels free and where it's restricted. And without pushing into the restriction, just floating across the surface of the resistance. And as you do that, focus on relaxing your face, the eyes, the space behind the eyeballs, the root of the tongue. Moving the sensations around and through the neck and shoulders. Two or three more breaths. Coming back to center. So as we open up into each new pose, you're welcome to lead with the eyes and then let the eyes take the rest of the body into the pose with them. But again, at the first hint that this is causing any unpleasant reactions, just relax the eyes and continue with the rest of the movements. Okay? So to start with, take your eyes very gently and look to the right and see if you can create the most subtle stretch without straining. Then let the eyes begin to lead the head. Find your right shoulder blade and let the shoulder blade begin to draw around and down as you lift the chest. Cross the left hand over the right knee. Lifting the chest, keeping the abdomen firm, drawing that right shoulder blade around and down. And then make sure that with the eyes that you're creating a subtle, delicate sensation without straining and that it feels pleasant, not unpleasant. 2 or 3 more breaths. Practice yoga for the quality of the sensations you're creating, rather than measuring success by how far you rotate or bend. 1 more breath. And releasing the eyes, coming back to center. And then leading with the eyes, taking your eyes to the left. Let the head follow. Find that left shoulder blade and let it draw the rest of the torso into the twist. Lift the chest, broaden through the shoulders, rotate, and now breathing into this position. Deepening the breath, smoothing the breath out, keeping some attention on the eyes, making sure that you aren't straining. The eyes are one of the most difficult muscles, the eye muscles, to be able to stretch without straining them. If you're having trouble, just let go of the eye exercises and focus on the twist itself. Take a breath or two. And coming back to center, circle with the ribs, first in one direction, and then the opposite direction. And then roll out the shoulders. Coming back to center. We'll warm up the tongue and then warm up the eyes, and then we'll move into lion's pose. So first the tongue. Take your tongue out and down, and at the first hint of a strain, even before there's a strain, at the first hint that the root of the tongue is starting to resist, pull the tongue back until you feel that area relax, and then try it again and again and again. And if you're lucky enough to reach the tongue out and down and nothing grips, then try to stretch the tongue. It should feel pleasant, not unpleasant. Take a breath and release. Now practice rolling the eyes up, and the same thing. As you roll the eyes up at the first hint of a grip, a strain, lower the eyes enough that those muscles relax, and then try it again more carefully. Rolling the eyes up. If you roll up and nothing resists and it just feels pleasant, then begin to roll the eyes up a little more firmly. If you're new to working with this eye movement, don't try too hard and be very careful not to strain or get a headache. Take a breath and release. Now put those two together, and the root of the tongue and the eyeballs are connected by a fascial line. And so when we take the tongue out and down and roll the eyes up, the fascia connecting the tongue to the eyes gets a little bit of stretch. Place your awareness in the middle of that area between the eye and the tongue, and try to create a pleasant sensation in that area. It may be very subtle. So when you're ready, start with the eyes, then add the tongue, and release. Now, for the full pose, you can do it either sitting cross-legged, or the more traditional position is from a kneeling position. If kneeling, sitting on your heels, like a Japanese kneeling position, that doesn't work for you, you can do it just from where you are. So either from here, you'll pounce forward, kind of like a spring, like a cat jumping, or stalking up and then jumping on towards a mouse. From a kneeling position, you start off sitting on your heels, and then you'll pounce. Okay. Now as you pounce, you take the eyes out and down, you roll the eyes up, the tongue out and down, and then from the very back of your throat, almost like ujjayi breath, but a little stronger and from deeper, you make a little roar sound like a lion. Okay. So let's try this together. And when you've finished the roaring, your awareness will be in your throat from making the sound. When you finish, that awareness is freed up. Move it to the tongue and the eyes. Hold for just a few moments. Try to adjust the tongue and eyes to make it feel even better, and then we'll come back up. Then close your eyes, and then relax and notice how you feel. So when you're ready, breathe in normally, exhale, take a complete breath. Lion's pose. Come back to sitting, close your eyes, and then see if you can allow yourself to smile. The yogis always said that lion's pose creates feelings of euphoria. Okay? So that is your goal, is to learn how to do this in such a way that it actually starts feeling pleasant. And then don't stop with pleasant. Keep adjusting, and you're looking for a sense of euphoria to fill the body when you're finished. Let's try it again, one more time. Breathe in normally, exhale, complete breath. Lion pose. From here, we'll come into cat-cow. Starting in table. Start each movement from the tailbone. Let the movement roll up to the head. As you exhale, tuck the tailbone, arch the low back, mid back, upper back, tuck the chin. As you breathe in, lift the tailbone. Lower the belly, open the chest, and look up. Now moving with the breath. And back to table. Now if we want to use this as an opportunity to include the eyes, we finish the movement with the eyes. Tuck your tailbone, round the low back, mid back, upper back, tuck the chin, and then look down, as if you're trying to look at your navel. Lift the tailbone, lower the belly, open the chest, look up, and then roll the eyes up. And in each movement of the eyes, you want to try and do it in a way where the eye muscles get a pleasant stretching sensation without straining. On your own now, moving with the breath. Let the eyes finish the movement. Couple more times. Back to neutral. We'll add a leg lift now. Float the left leg back and up. Move the chest forward. And then look up. And then if that's too easy, take the right hand and lift from the shoulder. Looking up. Now touch your elbow to your knee and look down with your eyes. And then expand and look up. 2 more times. 1 more time. And a couple of cat-cows. You can let the eyes rest now. Back to neutral. Right leg. And then either left hand staying on the ground or lift the arm. And then look up. Try to create a pleasant, healthy stretching sensation in the eyes. On an exhale, curl towards fetal, look down, expand and look up as you breathe in. 2 more times. One more time. Couple of cat-cows, resting the eyes now. You can close the eyes and soften the space behind the eyeballs as you do cat-cow. and back to neutral. Now camel, lifting upright, and then a slight rotation to your left. Place your hand on your pelvis, thigh, or heel. Take your hips forward, lift the chest, draw the right shoulder blade or left shoulder blade in and down, float the right arm overhead, and then take your eyes at a diagonal up and to the left. Imagine your eyes moving up and left and your hips moving forward. Take a breath or two. And release. Quarter turn to the right, right hand on sacrum, thigh, or heel. Float the right shoulder. Take your hips forward, draw that left shoulder blade in and down. Chest and hips moving forward and up. And then take your eyes in a diagonal to the right and up. Gentle cat-cow. And back to neutral. Tuck your toes under. Walk your hands in close. And then lift your knees and walk your hands in towards your feet. Standing forward bend. Knees bent a little bit, and either hands on the thighs, coming up a little, supporting weight, keeping your back safe, and taking the strain off of your hamstrings if they're tight. On the other hand, if it feels good to lean into the stretch, that's fine. 3 or 4 breaths. Now bend the left knee a little bit and shift the stretch into the right leg, and then try to adjust to maximize any healthy, pleasant sensations. And then bend the right knee and shift the stretch into the left leg. Go side to side. Come back to center. Take a few more breaths. And then, when you're ready, roll back up. Take a breath or two. And when you're ready, roll back up to standing. Letting the knees buckle, stacking the vertebrae. Feet hip width, outer edges parallel. Spread the toes, lift the arches, lift the pelvic floor, firm the abdomen, float the chest, open through the shoulders. From prayer position. When you're ready, float the arms down and out, rotate the palms up and continue into an overhead stretch. Bring the arms down halfway, reach the hips back. Release either into a partial forward bend or into a full forward fold. As you breathe in, roll up, buckle the knees, stack the vertebra, overhead stretch. Forward bend as you breathe out. 5 or 10 repetitions, working now with the breath. One more repetition. And then hold the forward bend, either part way or all the way. Knees bent slightly, sink the belly, lift the tailbone, stretch out the hamstrings, take a breath or two. And roll back up to standing. This time we'll add the eye movements from prayer. Sweep up and then look up, and then de-emphasize the overhead stretch and emphasize the quality of the eye movement. Try and adjust the eyes where it feels pleasant. Then holding on to that, adjust the pose where the rest of the pose feels pleasant. And then on an exhale, reach the hips back, release, and then roll the eyes down as if you're trying to see your own navel or trying to see your Adam's apple or throat. Adjust so that the eyes are comfortable, getting a very delicate, pleasant stretching sensation, and then divert some awareness to the rest of the pose. 2 more times on your own, working with your breath. First, create a healthy, pleasant stretch in the eyes, then adjust the rest of the pose. And then going to the opposite position. 1 more repetition. Looking up on the overhead stretch. Rolling the eyes down in the forward bend. And then coming back to neutral. Trikonasana. Step your feet nice and wide. We'll go to the right today. Turn the right foot out at 90 degrees. Lift the left heel, take it wide, set it down. Spread the toes on both feet. Shift your hips to the left. Tilt the pelvis. Try to stay back over the feet and the hips and the shoulders as opposed to letting your chest come forward. Draw a healthy, pleasant stretch into the back of the right leg. Hand on the thigh, on the shin or on the ground. Shoulders back, chest open. You can leave the left hand on the hip or you can float the shoulder out. Turn your attention to breathing, smooth, steady, deep. And take 4 or 5 more breaths. Couple more breaths. And switching sides. Turn the left foot out. Lift the right heel, take it wide, set it down. Shift your hips to the right. Tilt the pelvis. Keep the lower rib cage lengthening. Draw the shoulder blades together and down. Right hand on the hip or float the arm out. And then breathing into that. Couple more breaths. Forward bend. Turn the feet pigeon-toed. Heels wider than the little toe. Either come down part way with your hands supporting or relax into a full forward bend. Breathe deep, stretch the exhale. You can bend the right knee and then walk your hands to the right and then to the left. And then you can bend the left knee and walk your hands to the left and to the right. And then bend both knees and walk your hands forward without putting any weight on them or back. Just playing with increasing variety and complexity of the stretching sensations you're able to create. Shifting your hips around. Take a breath or two. Step your feet together. Roll back up to standing. Tadasana 2. Step your feet wide. Turn the right foot out, left foot in, this time bending the knee. Bend the right knee until it's directly above the heel. If that's too easy, walk the foot away from you and then lunge a little deeper, but always keeping the knee directly above the heel. Then square up your shoulders with your hips. There's a tendency to lean out over the right leg, so shift from the waist and the lowest ribs, shift the bottom of your rib cage back to the left. Keep the left leg straight and strong, and sink your weight into the left hip socket. Float the arms, drop the shoulders, open the heart, turn the head, gaze out over the fingertips. Now look out to the horizon. It might be a wall or a chair, the most distant object, and aligned with your right fingertips. And then let that be your focal point. Hold on to that point. 2 or 3 more breaths. Keep the breath smooth and steady and deliberate. One more breath. Switch sides. Turn the left foot out. Turn the right foot in. Bend the left knee. Adjust. Close up your stance if you're struggling. Widen if it's too easy. Square up shoulders, ribs, and hips. Straighten, strengthen the back leg, sink into the back hip, float the arms, sink the shoulders, open the heart, turn just your head. Focus on breathing into this position, looking for a steady, firm strength, but not brittle. We want prana to be able to move through the body. When we grip the prana, the flow of energy is blocked. A couple more breaths. Turn the feet pigeon-toed and release. Hang into a forward bend. 2 or 3 breaths. Breathe deep, stretch the exhale. One more breath. Step your feet together. Roll back up to standing. Standing in Tadasana. Mountain pose. Next we'll work with balancing. And in yoga we talk about a drishti. A drishti is a focal point. It is a target for your eyes to hold on to. There's a variety of reasons for doing this. One is stilling the mind, and another is for improving balance. And when we're working with balance poses, the drishtis become more important. So to first understand why the drishti supports us in balance, try balancing with your eyes closed. Okay? Tree pose, spread the toes on the right foot wide, shift your weight to the right, take all the weight out of the left foot, and then close your eyes, and then lift your left foot off the ground. If you start to wobble, put it down. Take just a moment to notice how that feels, and come back to center. Second side, spread the toes, shift the weight to the left, close your eyes, and then lifting the right foot, coming up into tree pose, and coming back out. So you should notice that with the eyes closed, we deprive the brain of visual information, and that is a large component of what your brain uses to support you in balance. We have the inner ear, we have the vision, what we're seeing with our eyes, and then we have the kinesthetic sense, the movement of the ankles and the feet and the muscles, and the brain combines all of this information together to determine what's happening. If you've ever been drunk and been fairly stable, and then closed your eyes and the room started spinning. Okay? That's because your inner ear was affected by the alcohol. The inner ear was telling you that the room was spinning a little bit. Your eyes were saying, no, the room really isn't spinning, and your brain chose to believe the eyes over the inner ear. Okay? So our sense of balance is tied to the visual quite strongly. So if we want to increase kinesthetic awareness, or to work on the inner ear, closing the eyes is a good option, even though it makes the pose more challenging. Most of the time, though, we want to make good use of our eyes. So when you realize the eyes are important, really using them deliberately is more effective. So pick your drishti. Some people prefer to pick a drishti that is on the floor about 8 or 10 feet out in front of them, so the head is turned down slightly. Some people prefer a drishti that is straight ahead of them for this pose. The further away it is, the better. Then you lock your eyes onto the target, and then you let it be about that, about the eyes locking on and not moving. Let the engagement of the eyes be the most important aspect of the pose. Spread the toes on the right foot, shift your weight to the right, take the weight out of the left foot. Re-engage the drishti, and then float the foot up to the calf, or you can pull the heel up to the groin. Float the arms out to the side, or if you prefer, overhead. Focus on maintaining the focal point. Take a breath or two. Float the arms down, smoothly releasing the foot, bringing the foot to the ground, shifting your weight to the left. Spread the toes on the left foot. Shift your weight to the left. Re-engage the drishti. You can work with the same focal point or choose a different one. If you want to work with some variety, you could choose one on the floor out in front of you or on the horizon, just to see what works more effectively for you. When you're ready, slowly begin lifting the foot, placing it at the calf, or bring the heel up to the groin. Float the arms out and overhead. Let the drishti be more important to you than the rest of the pose. Just for today's practice, let it be all about focusing the eyes, keeping the eyes fixed on one point, not letting them flick around. Take a breath or two. Put the arms down. Release the foot, place the foot on the floor, come back to center. Now, in an outdoor setting, especially with a breeze like we have today, it's hard to find a focal point that isn't moving. Okay? And a wonderful technique that is difficult to learn, but come in very handy, is to meditate while practicing soft focus. So if you aren't familiar with soft focus, if you watch my workshop on eyes, there I'll go into describing it. But basically, I focus on a point about 18 inches in front of my nose. I spread my field of vision, and I focus on the periphery of the field of vision, spreading my awareness evenly. Okay? So hold your thumb up in front of you, bend your elbow 90 degrees, maybe a little less than 90 degrees. Now look at your thumbnail. Notice that everything in the background becomes blurred and maybe double vision. Keep your focus on the thumbnail. Now, continue to focus on that point, but without using your thumb. Lower your arm and focus now on where your thumb was. If you can do that, see if you can take that with you into tree pose, where everything in the background is diffuse and your awareness is spread evenly. Now, instead of using a single point to maintain balance, We're using the entire field of vision to maintain our balance. If one object moves, the collective field doesn't. Take a few breaths in tree pose. If you're new to this will be a lot harder than the hard focus of a drishti. I call this a soft drishti. Float the arms down, release the foot, spread the toes on the left foot, shift your weight to the left, take the weight out of the right heel. And then if you need to use the thumb as a trick to bring that focal point in, that's fine. Then see if you can take the thumb away without the eyes reaching out and grabbing a target. Focus on nothing and focus on seeing everything. And then, if that's working for you, see if you can take that with you into tree pose. A soft, diffuse field of vision. If something moves, allow the object to move through the field of vision. Keep your focus on the field. 2 or 3 breaths. One more breath. Float the arms down, release the foot, coming back to 2 feet. Chair pose. And if you feel like you need more of a workout today, work with chair pose. Use this as an opportunity to move a little heat, a little prana through the body, working a little harder. If you feel like you don't need the extra work, use this pose at a very delicate level and focus on doing it more subtle and enjoying it, and add the drishti, rolling the eyes up and looking up. So chair pose. Float the arms overhead, lift the pelvic floor, firm the abdomen, lift the chest, take the inner armpits back, shoulder blades down, chest forward and up. Reach the hips back as you bend the knees a little bit. Keep drawing the navel in as you lean over and reach the hips back. Now either ease up a little bit on the physical side of the pose and focus on trying to find pleasure, or if you feel you need the extra work, go ahead and sit in deeper, reach back, pull the shoulders back behind the ears, and try and give the muscles a stronger workout. Make sure though that the energy is flowing through the muscles, not getting constricted, but moving the energy, the prana. A couple more breaths. Stretch up on an inhale, float the arms out, down. Supported forward bend. Take a breath or 2. Either stay there or lean in. 3 or 4 breaths. Stretch the exhale. We're working next with a back roll. Coming down to the floor. If you have your own roller, take a moment to get set up. If you don't, you can use any blanket. The firmer the blanket, the better. Mexican blankets work well. And then roll the blanket as tightly as you can, lengthwise. If it's too intense, you unroll the blanket. And if it's too easy, you can roll it up a little bit higher. Start with the blanket under your shoulders so that most of your body is on one side of the roller and just the tops of your shoulders are on the other side. Raise your arms overhead, and then if your neck feels vulnerable, you can support your neck with your hands. If it feels okay, you can allow the head to release and the arms to release. If your shoulders are bothering you, try bending the elbows or putting your hands on your forehead. If you can't get comfortable though, unroll the blanket enough that you can relax. 2 or 3 breaths. When you're ready to adjust, lift your hips off the ground just an inch, and then push yourself over the roller an inch, set the hips down, and relax again. And if you do this successfully, the roller will have moved down the spine 1, maybe 2 vertebrae. Now relax into the new position. Remember, this should feel pleasant or even boring, but not straining. If anything is not happy with you right now, unroll the blanket, or you can watch the workshop on back rolls that I have online. 2 or 3 breaths. When you're ready, lift the hips, reposition. Should be coming into about the middle of the spine. Set the hips down and relax again. In this position, you can practice working with a complete breath or yogic breathing. Breathe into the back, the pelvic floor, the belly, the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, the collarbones. Utilizing the full breath potential. Take a breath or two, reposition. Should be over halfway down the back now. If you finished early, go back to a favorite spot. Take a couple of breaths and then one more time. This time it's easier to move the roller with your hands. So grab the roller, lift your hips, and then with your hands place the roller so it's in the low back, just above the waist. And then set the hips down. If you hit a problem area that isn't responding well to this, unroll the blanket enough that you aren't traumatizing the nervous system. Couple more breaths. When you're finished, lift your hips and with your hand just pull the roller out from under you. Set the low back on the floor before the hips touch. And then draw the knees in, rock side to side. One repetition of cobra, 1 repetition of downward facing dog, and then we're going to slow down with pigeon pose. Coming onto your stomach. Touch your forehead to the floor. Bring your hands back, well behind the shoulders. Feet together. Press the tops of the feet down until the knees start to lift. Press the pubic bone down. Reach the tailbone away from the crown of the head. And reach the chest forward. Now start with the eyes. Roll the eyes up and let the eyes help you take the head up. Then take your shoulders forward, lift the shoulders up, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then draw the shoulder blades together and down the back as the chest reaches forward and up. And the eyes roll up. So if you're trying to glimpse something just out of line of sight on the ceiling. Again, make sure you aren't straining the eyes and take 3 or 4 breaths. One more breath. Downward facing dog. Reach the heels towards the floor. Lift the arches, lift the shins, lift the kneecaps, lift the quadriceps. Pull the chest through towards your feet. Float your shoulder blades away from the feet. Spiral the arms, spiral the legs. And then put an emphasis today on the eyes, looking towards the navel. 4 or 5 breaths. This is our last work before we slow down. When you're ready to slow down, bring the right knee forward. Slide the left leg back. Coming down onto your elbows. If it's too intense, walk the left leg to the left and forward. If it's too easy, slide it back into the right. Stretch the exhale into a sigh. 5 or 10 breaths. Focus on resting the eye, softening the space behind the eyeballs, the jaws, the lips, the root of the tongue. Two or 3 breaths. When you're ready, switch sides. Push back into down dog. Take a breath or two. Bringing the left leg forward, sliding the right leg back. Again, adjusting, moving the back leg around, forward or back, left or right, until you create just the right amount of stretch without any strain. Then focus on breathing and relaxing. Stretching the exhale. Three or 4 breaths. Spinal twist. Roll onto your back. Either bring both knees, or for a deeper stretch, bring just the right knee into your chest. Roll your whole body, including your shoulders, all the way over until the knee touches the floor. Hold it down with the left hand. With the right hand, reach away, reach up, and then slowly begin to open and let your eyes participate. Looking to the right, looking out past the fingertips. Then focus on not where you're looking, but on the sensation in the eye muscles. And see if you can roll the eyes to the right, just the right amount, the right way, that it starts to feel pleasant. The first hint of a strain, let the eyes rest. Four or 5 breaths. Coming back to center. Bringing both knees or just the left knee into your chest. Roll your whole body to the right, including the shoulders. Hold the knee down with the right hand and then reach the left arm away, up and then out. Turning your head to follow. And then letting the eyes participate in the twist. And then breathing deeply into that position. Two or three breaths. Come back to center, draw the knees in, rock side to side. Closing with Shavasana. If your low back feels vulnerable, keep the knees bent or support with a pillow under the knees. If your low back feels comfortable, straighten out the legs. Hip width apart. Check your whole spine for symmetry by lifting your head, looking down to the feet, and then adjusting the feet and the hips, and then rolling down one vertebra at a time. Keep the back of the neck long as you set your head down. Draw the shoulder blades together and draw them down the back. The chest and armpits are open. Stretch just the face. Open the mouth, pull the lips into a small O, move the teeth apart, and then open the eyes, roll the eyes up to the top of your head. Try to make that feel pleasant. Take a breath and release. Pay particular attention to the eyes, having worked them a little more than you may be used to. If your mind wanders, come back to the eyes. The muscles behind, beneath, around, and between the eyes. The eyelids, the eyebrows, the forehead. And we also use the tongue a little bit, so a little more emphasis on the tongue, softening, relaxing the tip of the tongue, the belly of the tongue, the root of the tongue, throat, all the way down to the belly. Fingers, hands, arms, and shoulders. Feet, the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs. Loosening hips, relaxing the buttocks. The low back, the belly, the kidneys. Ribs, the chest, the shoulders. back of the neck and soften the throat. The jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth. And especially the eyes. Imagine your brain like a big fluffy pillow. Let the eyeballs sink deep into that pillow to rest. Beginning to breathe a little deeper. And slowly, lazily, beginning to stretch and yawn, pendiculate. And draw your knees to your chest, roll to one side. Coming up to a comfortable seated position. Noticing how you feel. Now, if you prefer, just sit quietly with your eyes closed. And if you want to try one more eye exercise, we'll roll the eyes up, hold for about 30 seconds, and then very gently lower, and then meditate for maybe a minute. So either start your meditation now, or if you want to try the eye exercise, roll the eyes up without any strain at all, no matter how slight. The first hint of strain, lower the eyes, relax, and then try it again even more carefully, more slowly, more delicately. If it starts to feel good, hold. 5 or 10 breaths. Keep adjusting the eyes to avoid straining. Couple more breaths. And then close the eyes. Notice how you feel. We'll sit and meditate for just a minute. slowly opening the eyes. So I'd like to recommend taking time to work with eye exercises and also not forgetting the throat and the tongue. The workshop on yawning, we did a lot of work in that area, so yawning is a good way to keep that healthy. And not neglecting the eyes until something goes wrong. The eye movements increase awareness, consciousness, both of the eyes but also of the mind. But they also physically keep the eyes healthy at a physical level as well. Okay. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this practice. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon and evening, and I look forward to seeing you again at some future point. Namaste.